You are sitting in a room that feels familiar, perhaps too familiar. The lighting is dim, soft, curated to minimize the harsh edges of the reality waiting outside the window. In your hand, there is a ritual. It might be paper and plant, glass and water, or a sleek device of metal and oil. It doesn't matter what form the vessel takes. What matters is the promise it holds. You are about to shift your frequency. You are about to step out of the heavy, grinding machinery of the linear world and into the soft, fluid, timeless space of the spirit. At least, that is what you tell yourself. You flick the lighter. The flame dances, a tiny captured sun. You inhale. And there it is. The shift. It happens in the chest first, a loosening of a knot you didn't know you were carrying. The tension of the day, the emails, the expectations, the low-level hum of anxiety that defines modern existence, evaporates. It is replaced by a warm, viscous comfort. It feels like a mother's embrace. It feels like coming home. You exhale and the smoke drifts upward, twisting into shapes that look like ancient script, dissolving into the ceiling. Your eyes soften. The sharp corners of the room round off. The silence, which a moment ago felt empty and lonely, now feels pregnant with meaning. You are not alone. You are with yourself. And for the first time all day, you like the company. This is the beginning. This is the romance. You are young, or perhaps you are just young in the cycle of this relationship. You have discovered a cheat code to the divine. You remember the first time you felt this. You had been told your whole life that reality was hard, that God was distant, that peace was something you had to earn through decades of suffering or rigid discipline. But then you found the plant. And the plant whispered, "No, it is right here. It is one breath away." You feel like an initiate in a secret order. You look at the people walking on the street below, the squares, the asleep, the hamsters on the wheel. They are running on cortisol and coffee. They are trapped in the matrix of three-dimensional problem solving. But you have the key to the back door. You can step out of the game whenever you want. You put on music. It's not just sound anymore. It is architecture. You can walk inside the bass line. You can see the colors of the harmony. You feel a profound, vibrating connection to the artist, to the instrument, to the very physics of sound waves. You think, this is spiritual. I am experiencing the raw texture of creation. You eat, and it is a communion. You sit in nature, and the trees stop being wooden objects and become breathing, conscious entities. You feel the sap running through them as if it were your own blood. You look at the stars, and you don't just see light. You feel the crushing, beautiful vastness of infinity. And instead of being terrified, you laugh. You laugh because you get the joke. The cosmic joke. That everything is one. That separation is an illusion. You grab a notebook. You have to write this down. The insights are pouring in like a waterfall. You are channeling wisdom. You write about the nature of the ego, the structure of society, the geometry of love. You read it back and it sounds like scripture. You feel like a prophet in a hoodie. You believe you have found the medicine. And perhaps, in this early dawn of the cycle, you have. You have shattered the rigid mental structures that kept you small. You have peered over the wall of the ego and seen the garden on the other side. Years pass. Or maybe it's just months that feel like years because time has become elastic. The ritual changes. It is no longer a special occasion. It is a punctuated equilibrium. It is the bookend to your day. Then, it is the intermission. Then, it becomes the atmosphere. You start to curate your life around the state. You cultivate a circle of friends who vibrate at this frequency. You sit in living rooms with tapestries on the walls, surrounded by others who are also tuning in. The conversations are loop-the-loops of philosophy. You talk about conspiracies, about energy grids, about how the world is broken and how the ancients knew better. You talk about how they want to keep you down, but the plant sets you free. There is a sense of superiority in this stagnation. You look at your peers who are building careers, starting families, stressing over mortgages. You pity them. They are trapped in the material. You are an explorer of the psychonautic realms. You are doing the inner work. But let's look closer at this work. You wake up in the morning. The fog is there before you even open your eyes. It is a subtle veil, a layer of gauze over your cognition. It takes you a long time to boot up. The dreams you had are gone, evaporated instantly, leaving only a vague sense of heaviness. You reach for the coffee. You need the upper to balance the downer. You exist in a biochemical seesaw. You tell yourself you are sensitive, an empath, that the world is too loud for you, and the plant is your shield. It dampens the noise. It protects your aura. But notice what happens when a challenge arises. A difficult phone call, a bill you can't pay, a conflict with a partner. What is the first instinct? The instinct is to reset, to dissolve the discomfort, to reach for the lighter. I just need to clear my head, you say. I need to get into a higher state to solve this. So you smoke, and the anxiety vanishes. But so does the urgency. The problem didn't go away. Your ability to care about it did. You have confused transcendence with dissociation. You are not rising above the mountain. You are digging a hole underneath it and hiding in the dark. You start to notice a gap between your high self and your sober self. The high self is a philosopher, a creative genius, a lover of all mankind. The high self has big plans. The high self is going to write that novel, start that conscious business, learn that instrument, heal that trauma. The sober self, however, is tired. The sober self is irritable. The sober self is bored by the mundane details of execution. The sober self looks at the notebook full of divine downloads from the night before and sees incoherent ramblings, half-baked metaphors, and scribbles that lead nowhere. You begin to resent the sober self. You start to view sobriety as the pathology and the high as the cure. You think, if I could just stay in that state of flow, I would be perfect. So you try to engineer a life where you never have to land. You become a master of maintenance. You are functional. You are not the stereotype on the street corner. You hold down a job, perhaps even a good one. You pay your rent. You exercise. You eat organic food. You meditate. But you cannot meditate without it. This is the turning point, though you don't see it yet. You sit on your cushion, cross-legged, seeking the silence of the void. But the silence is too loud. The monkey mind is screaming. You feel the itch in your skin. You feel the boredom. So you partake, just a little. A microdose to grease the gears of spirit. And boom, you are there. The instant zen. You close your eyes and see the fractals. You feel the chakras aligning. You think, see? It helps me focus. It's a tool for meditation. But you are like a weightlifter who only lifts styrofoam weights painted to look like iron. You feel strong, but you are building no muscle. The muscle of spirituality is built in the resistance. It is built in the boring, grinding, difficult moments of sitting with a chaotic mind and bringing it back to the breath without chemical assistance. You are outsourcing your peace. You are renting your enlightenment by the gram. and the landlord is starting to raise the rent. You notice that the magic is becoming thinner. The first hit of the day still feels like relief, but the second, third, and fourth just make you tired. You are chasing the dragon of that original epiphany, that first time the world opened up. But you are just walking through the same rooms of your mind over and over again. The furniture is worn out. The wallpaper is peeling. You know every corner of this headspace. And frankly, it's getting small. You start to feel a creeping paranoia. Not the cops are coming paranoia, but a spiritual paranoia. You feel like you are being watched by your own potential. You feel the weight of unlived lives stacking up behind you. You have all these ideas. You are constantly downloading wisdom. But what have you built? What have you manifested in the physical plane? The plant gives you the feeling of accomplishment without the requirement of action. It floods your brain with the reward chemicals of a job well done before you have even started the job. You sit on the couch, visualizing your success, feeling the emotions of victory, vibrating with the frequency of abundance. And because you feel it so intensely, you feel no need to actually go out and do the work to get it. You are trapped in the realm of potentiality. You are a ghost in your own life, floating through the days, observing, analyzing, feeling, but never truly impacting. Your relationships begin to suffer. You tell yourself it's because you are evolving, and they are not. You say they are low vibration, but the truth is, you are emotionally unavailable. You are behind a glass wall. When you are high, you feel an immense oceanic love for humanity. But when your partner asks you to do the dishes, or your mother calls just to talk, you feel intruded upon. You feel your vibe is being harsh. You protect your high more than you protect your connections. And then comes the shadow. You begin to notice that the plant, which once showed you the light, is now showing you the darkness. But not in a constructive way. You get stuck in loops of negative self-analysis. You dissect your own social interactions until they bleed. You overthink every word you said, every look you received. You become hyper-aware of your own awkwardness, your own fraudulence. The inner critic gets a megaphone. You're wasting your life, it whispers in the smoke. You're just a burnout pretending to be a shaman. You try to smoke it away, but the smoke is the amplifier. You start to experience the spiritual plateau. You read the books, Ramdas, Tolle, Watts. They all talk about presence. They talk about the now. And you nod along, stone-faced, thinking, I know this, I live this. But do you? To live in the now is to accept the present moment exactly as it is. To be fully with the pain, the boredom, the joy, the neutral grayness of a Tuesday afternoon. To smoke is to say, I reject this present moment. It is not enough. It needs a filter. It needs an enhancer. I refuse to experience raw reality. You are in a relationship of rejection with your own life. You enter a phase of secret shame. You hide the extent of your usage. You tell people you only smoke occasionally or creatively. But you know the truth. You know that if you run out, panic sets in. You know that you plan your travel around where you can score. You know that the first thing you think about when you wake up is not God, not gratitude, not your purpose. It is the stash. You have made the plant an idol. You have placed it on the altar where your soul should be. And the plant is a jealous God. It demands your time. It demands your money. It demands your clarity. It demands your memory. Oh, the memory. You start to lose the texture of your history. The months blur together into a green smear. You remember feelings, but you don't remember details. You remember having profound conversations. But you can't recall what was said. You are losing the narrative of your own existence. You are becoming a spectator to a movie that is out of focus. You look in the mirror one night. The eyes looking back are red, glassy, and ancient. There is a wisdom there, yes. You have seen things. You have traveled the astral planes. You have dissolved your ego 1,000 times. But there is also a deep, haunting sadness. It is the sadness of a king who has conquered a kingdom of clouds. You rule over a phantom empire. You ask yourself, is this it? Is this the peak of spiritual evolution? To be sedated? To be comfortable? To be half here? You remember the fire you used to have, the raw, jagged ambition, the willingness to fail, the sharpness of your wit. Where did it go? It was traded for comfort. It was traded for the warm blanket. You realize that you are not expanding anymore. You are contracting. You are shrinking into a safe, predictable bubble where nothing hurts, but nothing grows. You are a bonsai tree in a greenhouse, perfectly pruned, kept small, kept safe, kept alive, but denied the wildness of the forest. This is the middle of the journey. This is the stagnation. This is where the romance dies and the marriage becomes a prison. You try to quit. You throw the paraphernalia away. You make a declaration to the universe. I am done. I am choosing clarity. The first day is okay. You feel virtuous. You feel a surge of pink cloud sobriety. But then comes the night, the insomnia, the sweat, the irritability, the vivid, terrifying dreams where you are processing years of suppressed emotion all at once. And the boredom, the crushing gray, flatline boredom. Reality feels like a fluorescent-lit waiting room. It has no magic. It has no sparkle. You feel like you have been unplugged from the source. Your mind whispers, just one hit, just to sleep, just to meditate, just to reconnect. You can handle it now. You've learned your lesson. It will be different this time. It is the voice of the siren, and she is beautiful. She promises you the return of the magic. She promises you that the divine is waiting for you, and you just need to turn the key. So you turn the key, and for a moment, it works. The relief is orgasmic. The tension breaks. You are back. But the guilt follows immediately, heavier than before. You have broken your promise to yourself. You have proven that you are not the master of your house. You are the servant. And the cycle repeats. But now, it is faster. The highs are shorter. The lows are deeper. The fog is thicker. You begin to wonder if you have permanently damaged your connection to the organic spirit. You wonder if you have burned out your receptors for natural joy. You look at children playing, at dogs chasing balls, at old men drinking coffee on benches. People who are just existing and seem content. And you feel an envy so sharp it cuts you open. They are here. They are fully here. They are navigating the raw data of life without a buffer. They are brave. You are hiding. You are hiding in the smoke. You start to study the nature of the plant more deeply. You move past the, it's just a herb, it's natural rhetoric. You start to look at the energetics. In many ancient traditions, intoxicants were used, yes. But they were used with terrifying precision. They were used by shamans who had undergone years of purification. They were used in rituals with specific containers, guides, and intentions. And then they were put down. They were a telescope to see the destination. They were not the vehicle to live in. You have set up a tent in the telescope and refused to walk the path. You realize that the spirituality you have been practicing is actually a form of spiritual materialism. You are consuming experiences. You are consuming states of consciousness. You are a tourist in the spirit world, taking photos but never learning the language. True spirituality is not a state. It is a stance. It is not about feeling good. It is about being true. It is about the capacity to hold the tension of opposites without collapsing. It is about integration. Weed is the great disintegrator. It separates the mind from the body, the intention from the action, the dream from the reality. It creates a drift. And you have been drifting for a long time. You are out at sea, in a boat with no rudder, looking at the stars, thinking you are sailing. But you are just floating with the current, and the current is pulling you toward a waterfall. The decline is subtle. It's not a crash. It's a fading. Your vocabulary shrinks. Your emotional range narrows. Your ambition atrophies. You become a nice guy, a chill dude, harmless, ineffective. You stop challenging people. You stop challenging yourself. You accept mediocrity because mediocrity feels profound when you are high. You can stare at a blank wall and find it interesting, so why bother painting a masterpiece? The plant gives you the ability to tolerate a life you should be changing. That is the danger. That is the trap. Pain is a signal. Boredom is a signal. Anxiety is a signal. They are the dashboard lights of your soul telling you that something needs to be adjusted. You need to move. You need to speak. You need to leave. You need to build. When you smoke over those lights, you are smashing the dashboard. You are driving blind. You feel fine, but the engine is overheating. You look around your apartment. It is a museum of started projects. The half-read books, the dusty guitar, the yoga mat that is used as a rug. These are the tombstones of your potential. And the ghost that haunts this graveyard is you. But deep down, under the haze, under the chemical blanket, there is still a spark. There is a part of you that remembers who you were before the fog rolled in. A part of you that wants to wake up. It is a quiet voice. It is not shouting like the ego. It is not seductive like the addiction. It simply asks, who are you without this? And the question terrifies you, because you don't know the answer anymore. You have merged with the smoke. You have become the vapor. You are terrified that if you stop, you will be nothing. You will be dull. You will be ordinary. But let me tell you a secret about the ordinary. The ordinary is where the magic is actually hiding. The magic you have been chasing in the clouds is actually buried in the earth. It is in the soil of the mundane. It is in the friction of the real. You have spent years trying to be a spirit, having a human experience, trying to escape the human part. But the mission was never to escape. The mission was to embody, to bring the spirit down into the meat, into the bone, into the blood, to infuse the heavy, dense, resistant world with light. You cannot do that if you are always floating above it. You have to land. The landing gear is rusty. The runway is dark. You are afraid of the impact. But you are running out of fuel. You are circling the airport again and again, watching the fuel gauge drop. You have two choices. You can keep circling until you crash, until the biology fails, until the mind cracks, until the years run out and you are left with nothing but a collection of cool thoughts and a wasted life. Or you can take the controls. You can brace yourself. You can cut the engine of the illusion, and you can initiate the descent. It is going to be bumpy. It is going to be loud. It is going to hurt. But it is the only way to get home. The lighter sits on the table. It looks innocent. Just a piece of plastic. But you know what it is. It is a gatekeeper. And today, you are standing at the gate, looking at the lock, realizing that you have the key in your pocket. But you also have the power to walk away from the door entirely. You pick it up. The weight of it feels different this time. It doesn't feel like a treasure. It feels like a chain. You look at the window. The sun is setting. The real sun, not the one in your mind. The world out there is sharp, cold, and indifferent. It doesn't care about your insights. It demands your participation. Are you ready to participate? Or do you want to watch from the sidelines for another decade? You put the lighter down. You don't light it. Not yet. You just sit there. And you let the feeling of wanting it wash over you. You observe the craving. You watch it rise like a wave. I need it, the mind screams. I want it, the body aches. I am here, the soul whispers. And for the first time in a long time, you listen to the whisper. You close your eyes. No smoke, no filter. Just the blackness behind your eyelids. It is empty. It is scary. But it is yours. The silence in the room isn't peaceful. It is aggressive. For years, you treated silence like a canvas you had to paint over with smoke. You thought silence was an empty space waiting to be filled with your enhanced thoughts, your music, your vibe. But now, sitting there without the ritual, you realize silence is actually a mirror. And right now, the reflection is ugly. You feel a physical itch, but it's not on your skin. It's in the center of your chest. It's the sensation of a biological clock ticking, a system demanding its fuel. You tell yourself you are just taking a break, but your body knows better. Your body knows this feels like a breakup. You go to bed, you think, at least I'll sleep. I'll sleep the natural sleep of the righteous. You are wrong. You lay there. 1 hour, 2 hours. The darkness of the bedroom seems to have a texture, a grainy, static quality. Your mind, usually sedated into a soft, drifting haze by this time, is razor sharp. But it's not the sharpness of insight. It's the sharpness of a jagged knife. You are thinking about a conversation you had 3 years ago. You are thinking about the way your knee hurts. You are thinking about the concept of death. You are thinking about the fact that the sheets feel too hot and too cold at the same time. This is the rebound effect. You spent years suppressing your REM sleep. Weed is a dream killer. It knocks you out, yes, but it keeps you in the shallow waters of sleep, denying you the deep, chaotic, restorative dive into the subconscious. You haven't truly dreamt in years. You've just blacked out and rebooted. But now, the dam is breaking. When you finally drift off, it isn't rest. It is a visitation. The dreams hit you with the force of a freight train. They are technicolor, violent, hyper-real hallucinations. You are back in high school, but the school is on fire. You are arguing with your dead grandmother. You are being chased by a shadow that looks suspiciously like yourself. You wake up gasping, sweating, heart hammering against your ribs like a trapped bird. You sit up in the dark, trembling. You think, I thought this was supposed to be healing? I thought sobriety was clarity? This is clarity. This is the backlog. This is your psyche purging years of unprocessed data that you filed away in the later cabinet because you were too busy being chill. The next morning, the world is gray. This is the hardest part to explain to people who haven't been there. They expect the withdrawal to be dramatic, shaking hands, vomiting, fever. But the withdrawal from the green mist is psychological. It is existential. It is the Great Grayness. You make coffee. It tastes bitter. You look outside. The sky is flat. You put on your favorite album, the one that used to make you feel like you were floating in a cathedral of sound. And it just sounds like noise. Tinny, compressed, boring. You realize with a sinking horror that you weren't actually enjoying your life. You were enjoying the dopamine spike you associated with your life. You were painting a coat of varnish over a rotting fence. Now the varnish is gone, and you are staring at the rot. You are bored. But this isn't normal boredom. This is anhedonia, the inability to feel pleasure. Your reward system is broken. It has been hijacked by a superstimulus for so long that normal stimuli, a smile, a good meal, a sunset, don't even register. Your brain is a spoiled child screaming for candy, refusing to eat its vegetables. You find yourself standing in the middle of your kitchen, staring at the wall, thinking, is this it? Is this what normal people feel like all the time? How do they stand it? You feel heavy. Gravity seems to have doubled. The idea of doing laundry feels like climbing Everest. The idea of meditating feels like a joke. You try to sit for 10 minutes, and your mind is a chaotic storm of irritation. This is stupid, the voice says. I was a better meditator when I was high. I could go so deep. Now I'm just a fleshy sack of anxiety sitting on a cushion. You miss the identity. That's the secret hook. You didn't just lose a substance. You lost a persona. You were the shaman, the psychonaut, the deep thinker. When you were high, you felt like you were accessing a secret layer of reality. You felt special. Now, you are just a person who is irritable, tired, and slightly sweaty. You feel ordinary. And to a spiritual ego, ordinary is a fate worse than death. Days 3, 4, 5. The irritability spikes. You snap at your partner because they chewed too loudly. You get a surge of rage because the internet is slow. You feel a constant, low-level vibration of, I hate this. You are thawing out. Imagine a limb that has been asleep for years. When the blood starts to flow back in, it doesn't feel good. It feels like needles. It burns. For years, you used the plant to buffer your emotional reactions. Something bad happened. Smoke it away. Something annoying happened. Smoke it away. You thought you were being unbothered. You thought you were practicing non-attachment. You were not. You were practicing repression. Now, the buffer is gone, and you are feeling everything you didn't feel for the last decade, all at once. You are crying during car commercials. You are furious at the traffic light. You are terrified of the email in your inbox. You feel like a raw nerve ending walking through a sandpaper world. This is where the negotiation begins. The mind, that clever, slippery lawyer, starts to build a case. Look at you, it says. You're a mess. You're angry. You're unproductive. You're miserable. Remember how productive you were last month? Remember how you wrote that poem? Remember how much you loved your friends? This sobriety thing is actually lowering your vibration. You're becoming toxic. You should just have a little bit. Just to regulate. Just to get back to baseline. It's a medicine, remember? You're denying yourself your medicine. It sounds so rational. It sounds so spiritual. But you have to look at the mechanics. You have to be a scientist of your own soul. What is actually happening in the brain? You have downregulated your dopamine receptors. Because you flooded the system with free joy, the brain closed the gates. Now that the flood is gone, the few trickles of natural joy can't get through the closed gates. You are in the Dopamine Valley. You have to walk through this valley. There is no shortcut. You cannot think your way out of it. You cannot meditate your way out of it. You have to endure your way out of it. You have to pay the debt. You borrowed happiness from tomorrow to pay for today. And now, tomorrow is here, and the bill collector is at the door. You start to notice something else, something deeply uncomfortable. You notice how much of your spiritual life was actually just aesthetic. You look at your crystals, your tapestries, your books on metaphysics. Without the chemical filter, they look lifeless. You realize you are using the aesthetic of spirituality to decorate a cage of addiction. You were LARPing enlightenment. Real enlightenment is not about seeing fractals or feeling like you are one with the galaxy while sitting on your couch. Real enlightenment is the ability to show up for the difficult, boring, gritty texture of reality and love it anyway. And right now, you don't love it. You hate it. Accept that hate. That is your first honest spiritual act in years. I hate this. Good. That's true. That's real. That is a solid place to stand. Week 2. The fog begins to lift, but it reveals a landscape you didn't want to see. You see your life clearly for the first time in a long time, and it's a mess. When you were high, you could ignore the pile of mail. You could ignore the friction in your relationship. You could ignore the fact that you've been in the same job for 5 years without a promotion. You could reframe it all. I'm a minimalist, you'd say. I'm not defined by capitalism. Now, you see it as it is. Stagnation. You realize that weed gave you the patience to tolerate a life you should have been changing. It made you comfortable with being stuck. Panic sets in. You feel like you've wasted time, years of it. You look back at the last decade, and it's a blur, a green, smoky smear. What did you actually build? Who did you actually help? You feel a crushing sense of regret. This is the shadow work. People talk about shadow work like it's a cool, mysterious ritual. It's not. Shadow work is realizing you've been a coward. Shadow work is realizing you've been selfish. Shadow work is realizing you let yourself down. It hurts. It burns. But this burn is different from the withdrawal. This is the burn of antiseptic on a wound. It stings because it's cleaning. You start to have moments, tiny, fleeting moments, where the grayness cracks. You are walking down the street. It's a Tuesday. Nothing special is happening. But for 1 second, the breeze hits your face, and you feel it. Really feel it. It's cool, crisp. You smell rain on the asphalt. You hear a child laughing in the distance, and you feel a spark. It's not the roaring bonfire of a high. It's a tiny, fragile candle flame. But it's yours. It wasn't imported. It wasn't synthesized. It came from your own chemistry interacting with the world. You stop walking. You take a breath. And you realize, I am here. You are not floating above the street. You are on the street. You are in your body. You are not observing the moment. You are the moment. This is the beginning of embodiment. You start to realize that the spirituality you were chasing was a form of escape. You wanted to ascend. You wanted to leave the heavy earth. But the purpose of the human experiment is not to leave. It is to arrive. Weed is an eject button. It launches you into the stratosphere. But you can't build a house in the stratosphere. You can't hug someone from the stratosphere. You have to come down. And as you crash land back into your biology, you begin to discover the power of friction. When you were high, everything was smooth. Thoughts flowed into thoughts. Emotions were soft. There was no friction. But friction is necessary for movement. You need friction to walk. You need friction to start a fire. You start to use this friction. You channel the irritability into a workout, and you feel a rage that transforms into power. You lift heavier than you ever have. You run until your lungs burn. And at the end of it, you feel a natural endorphin rush that is cleaner, sharper, and more earned than any bong rip. You channel the boredom into action. You clean your apartment. Not just a surface clean, but a deep clean. You scrub the corners. You throw away the trash. And as you clean your physical space, you feel the mental space clearing too. You are reclaiming your territory. You channel the anxiety into creativity. But not the, I have a great idea for a novel creativity that never gets written. The gritty, frustrating creativity of actually writing the sentences. It's hard. It's slow. You hate every word. But you write a page. And that page exists in reality. You are moving from consumer to creator. Weed turns you into the ultimate consumer. You consume food, you consume media, you consume your own thoughts. You are a passive receptor of experience. Sobriety forces you to become a creator. Because if you don't create something interesting to do, you will be bored out of your mind. You have to generate your own fun. You have to generate your own meaning. This is the shift from God is out there to God is in here. You stop waiting for the download. You start writing the code. But the test isn't over. You encounter the social gate. You go to a gathering. The circle forms. The ritual begins. The lighter flickers. The smell hits your nose. That skunky, sweet, nostalgic perfume. Your friends pass it to you. It's automatic, a muscle memory. You good? They ask. This is the moment, the crossroads. Your brain screams, just one, just for old time's sake. It will make the conversation better. You'll be funnier. You'll be more connected. Don't be the boring, sober guy. You hold the vessel. You look at the ember. You remember the fog. You remember the panic attacks. You remember the grayness. You remember the years of stagnation. But you also remember the warmth. It is a seduction. It is a lover asking for one last night. You look at your friends. Their eyes are already glazing over. They are already drifting away. They are laughing. But the laughter is a bit too loud, a bit too disconnected. They are talking over each other. They are in their own bubbles, bumping against each other, but not truly touching. You realize you are the only one in the room who is actually awake. You feel a wave of loneliness. It is the loneliness of the sober man at the drunken feast. But beneath the loneliness, there is something steel hard. Self-respect. You hand it back. I'm good, you say. You sure? It's a new strain. It's hybrid. I'm good. You watch the circle continue without you. You feel a pang of loss. You are no longer part of the tribe in the same way. You have stepped outside the circle of smoke. But as the night goes on, you notice something. You notice the loops in their conversation. They repeat the same points. They forget what they were saying mid-sentence. They laugh at things that aren't funny. You see the mechanism. You see the glitch. You leave early. You walk home in the cool night air. You are entirely sober. Your senses are crisp. You look up at the moon. It is stark, white, silent. It doesn't look trippy. It just looks like a rock in space. And somehow, that stark reality is more beautiful than any hallucination. It is real. It is there. And you are here to witness it. You go home. You brush your teeth. You look in the mirror. The redness is gone. The glassiness is gone. The eyes looking back are clear. They are a bit sad, yes. They look tired. They look like they have been through a war. But they are present. There is a light behind them that isn't chemical. It is the pilot light of your own consciousness, burning on its own fuel. You lie in bed. The dreams will come again tonight. The sweat might come again. The boredom waits for you tomorrow. But you are no longer a slave. You have broken the chain. You have stepped out of the golden cage. Now, you are standing in the wild. It is cold here. It is dangerous. Here, there are no padded walls, but you are free. And now the real question arises. Now that you are awake, now that you have cleared the fog, what are you going to do with this clarity? You have spent years opening your mind. Now, you have to learn how to use it. You have to learn how to operate this machine called a human being without the training wheels. You have to learn how to access the divine states you love so much, not by cheating, not by sneaking in the back door, but by walking through the front gate. You have to learn the technology of the natural high. Because the truth, the one the plant hid from you, is that you are capable of states of bliss, focus, and connection that dwarf anything you ever felt while high. But they cost more. They cost discipline. They cost breath. They cost attention. You are ready to pay the price. You close your eyes. You take a breath, a deep, conscious breath. You follow it all the way down to the bottom of your lungs. You feel the oxygen hit your blood. You feel the tingle in your fingers. Show me. You whisper to the dark. Show me what I can do. The dark does not answer with words. It answers with potential. You are an uncarved block. You are a field of snow where no footprints have been laid. The romance is over. The work begins. You stand at the edge of the clearing. The fog has lifted, but the path ahead is steep. It is no longer enough to simply not do the thing that held you back. Removal is only the first step. A garden that is merely weeded is still empty. It will simply grow thorns if you do not plant flowers. You must plant. You begin to explore the technology of your own biology. You realized in the darkness of your withdrawal that you were chasing a state change. You wanted to shift from beta waves, the stressed, analytical survival mode, into alpha and theta, the relaxed, creative, intuitive modes. The plant forced that shift with a sledgehammer. Now, you learn to use the dial. You discover the breath. It sounds cliché. Just breathe, they say. But you aren't doing the shallow survival breathing of the office worker. You are learning the breath of the warrior. You sit in the morning, the air cold in the room. You begin the rhythm. Inhale, hold, exhale, hold. At first, it is boring. Your mind wanders to the ritual you used to have. The grinding, the packing, the spark. That was easy. This is work. But then, at minute 10, it happens. A tingling in the extremities, a lightness in the forehead. The chatter of the mind doesn't just stop. It harmonizes. You feel a surge of electricity running up your spine. It is not the dull, heavy blanket of the smoke. It is sharp. It is bright. It is clean. You realize you are your own alchemist. You can synthesize dopamine, serotonin, and DMT from within the laboratory of your own nervous system. You don't need to import the goods. You are the factory. This is the earned high. The difference between an earned high and a borrowed high is the difference between climbing a mountain and taking a helicopter to the summit. The view might look the same for a moment, but the person who climbed has changed. Their legs are stronger. Their lungs are bigger. They know the terrain. If the weather turns, the climber can survive. The helicopter passenger is helpless. You are becoming the climber. You take this energy into your work. You remember the flow state you thought only weed could unlock? You thought you needed to be high to write, to code, to paint, to strategize. You thought the plant was the muse. You sit down at your desk, sober. The blank page stares at you. It is intimidating. There is no chemical buffer to soften the fear of failure. You feel the resistance. It is a physical wall. But instead of turning away, you push. You type one sentence, then another. You struggle for 20 minutes. It feels gritty and awful. And then the wall cracks. You slip through. Time dilates. The words start to come, not from a hazy, disconnected place, but from a deep well of clarity. You work for 3 hours straight. When you look up, you are exhausted, but you are exhilarated. And the work? You read it back. It makes sense. It has structure. It has teeth. You realize the plant didn't give you creativity. It gave you permission to lower your inhibitions so the creativity could come out. But it also made you sloppy. Now, you have the creativity with the precision. You have the wild idea and the architectural skill to build it. You are dangerous now, in the best possible way. As you build this new operating system, your external reality begins to reshape itself. This is the law of resonance. When you were vibrating at the frequency of hiding, you attracted other hiders. You attracted situations that allowed you to remain stagnant. You attracted partners who wanted to fix you or be broken with you. Now, you are vibrating at the frequency of facing. You notice that certain people fall away. The friends who only wanted to sit on the couch and complain about the system, they stop calling. You are no longer a comfortable mirror for them. Your clarity reflects their haze, and it makes them itch. Let them go. This is not cruelty. It is physics. In their place, new characters enter the stage. You meet people who are building things. People who talk about ideas, not just sensations. People who hold you accountable. You meet someone who looks you in the eye and asks, "What are you working on?" And they actually wait for the answer. They are not waiting for their turn to speak. They are listening. And because you are sober, you are listening back. You discover the intimacy of presence. You used to think intimacy was merging souls in a cloud of smoke, talking about the universe until 4 a.m. But you realize that was often just two egos masturbating next to each other. True intimacy is noticing the micro-expressions on someone's face. It is hearing the tremble in their voice. It is sitting in silence with another human being and not feeling the need to fill it with deep theories. It is being a safe harbor for someone else because your own waters are calm. You begin to respect your own word. In the old days, you made promises you didn't keep. I'll start that project tomorrow. I'll call you later. I'm going to change. The smoke blew them away. You didn't trust yourself, so you didn't expect anyone else to. Now, when you say you will do something, you do it. It's a radical concept. You become a person of weight. Your words have mass. When you speak, reality rearranges itself to accommodate your intention. This is true magic. Magic is not seeing trails of light or hearing voices. Magic is the ability to have a thought, speak it into existence, and then take the actions to make it solid matter. You are becoming a magician of the real. But do not think this linear ascent is the end of the story. The path is a spiral. There will be days when the old ghost returns. You will be stressed. You will be heartbroken. You will be physically in pain. And the memory will surface, shiny and golden. Remember me? It will whisper. I can make this go away in 5 minutes. It is true. It can make it go away. But you know now that away is not a place you want to go. You want to be here, even when here hurts. You learn to metabolize pain instead of fleeing from it. You realize that pain is dense energy. If you sit with it, if you breathe into it, if you refuse to numb it, that energy transforms. The heartbreak becomes art. The frustration becomes a workout. The anxiety becomes a plan. You are a transmutation device. You take the lead of suffering and turn it into the gold of character. This is the alchemy you were looking for in the plant. But the plant could only offer fool's gold. As the months turn into a year and the year into 2, you look back at the person you were in part 1. You don't feel anger anymore. You feel compassion. You see that younger version of you, scared, sensitive, overwhelmed by the harshness of the world, reaching for a shield. It was an innocent impulse. You wanted to protect your soul. You wanted to feel God. You forgive them. You thank the plant for the lessons. You thank it for the initial opening. It showed you that there was more to life than the material grind. It served a purpose. But you have graduated. You don't need to carry the raft once you have crossed the river. To carry the raft on your back while walking up the mountain is madness. You leave it on the shore. And now, a new question arises. A quiet, dangerous, beautiful question. If you are not the stoner, and you are not the recovering addict, then who are you? You are the vessel. You realize that your body, your mind, your nervous system, this is the most sophisticated technology in the known universe. You have been treating it like a rental car. Now you treat it like a temple. You treat your sleep as sacred. You treat your food as fuel. You treat your attention as currency, the most valuable currency you have. You do not spend it on cheap distractions. You invest it. You look at the world and you see that it is broken in many ways. It is chaotic. It is suffering. The old you would have smoked to cope with that suffering. The world is messed up, you would have said, exhaling a cloud. But I'm good. The new you looks at the suffering and asks, what is my role here? You realize that the sensitivity you were trying to numb was actually your superpower. You are sensitive. You do feel things deeply. That is not a defect. That is your instrument. Because you feel the pain of the world. You are motivated to heal it. Because you feel the dissonance, you are motivated to create harmony. You are no longer shielding your light. You are weaponizing it. You are ready to serve. This is the final transition from self-preservation to service. The addict is hyper-focused on self. My feelings, my anxiety, my state, my high. The master is focused on the other. How can I help? What can I build? Who needs me? And paradoxically, in forgetting yourself to serve others, you find the ultimate high. The high of connection, the high of purpose, the high of knowing that your existence matters. You walk down the street. It is the same street from the beginning of the story, the same gray pavement, the same noise. But it looks different now. You see the beauty in the cracks. You see the struggle in the eyes of the passers-by. And you don't judge them. You love them. You see the squares and the suits not as enemies, but as people doing their best in a hard game. You feel a profound sense of gratitude, not the drug-induced, manic gratitude that shouts, "I love everything," but the quiet, sturdy gratitude of a survivor. You are alive. You are awake. You are driving the car. You take a deep breath. You taste the air. It tastes like exhaust and rain and spring flowers. It tastes like reality. And it is sweet, so here is the method. Here is the secret you have been waiting for. There is no secret. There is only the choice to be uncomfortable rather than unconscious. The choice to be bored rather than entertained. The choice to be real rather than enhanced. Every morning, you will wake up, and the choice will be there. The golden cage will always be there, the door slightly ajar, promising safety, warmth, and sleep. And every morning, you must choose the wild. You must choose to step out into the cold air. Because out there in the wind and the rain is where you will find something the smoke could never give you. You will find yourself. And this time, when you look in the mirror, you won't just see a seeker. You will see the one who found the way. Now, turn off the screen. Stand up. Take a breath. The real trip is just beginning.